everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wanted more guidance and direction in life, then do we have the Mystical Shaman Oracle show for you. Today I'll be talking with Colette Baron-Reid, best-selling author, internationally acclaimed intuition expert, oracle expert, founder of the Oracle School, and the co-creator of by far my favorite deck of oracle cards ever, and we get a lot, the Mystical Shaman Oracle Deck. Today we'll talk about tapping into intuition, diving into the cards, and getting mystical shaman guidance in your life. That, plus we'll talk about a wild woman, luminous warriors, the power of completion, a jaguar, hummingbird, and crow, the importance of self-love, a 3-minute miracle, Pomeranian madness, and once again, what in the world Fred has to do with anything. So welcome, gotcha. Welcome back to the show, Colette. Are you ready to shine?
You're totally, I have to be honest, you are my favorite interviewer. I didn't realize it was you until I saw your name, because there's a lot of people asking us to do these kind of things recently, and I'm in the middle of a goddess deck, so I'm saying no to everything, and I was like, oh my God, I love him. I'm totally doing a show.
And you know,
so great to hear.
We're having challenges, camera challenges, mic challenges beforehand, and I'm thinking if I didn't telepathically get it across, it's me, it's Michael. You're gonna have fun. It's gonna be fine.
That's right. That's right. It's gonna be great.
Woohoo! So before we dive right into things, what is a mystical shaman?
Well, you know, it's funny. Mystical Shaman is the name that we came up with. I should really tell you the story behind it.
Please.
Because myself, Alberto Vallaldo, and his wife, Marcella, co-created this deck, we decided to call it Mystical Shaman because I brought the mystical element there. And the fact that a shaman is the intermediary between the seen and unseen worlds. And so the idea that it's a mystical shaman is that, you know, this is not a traditional practice of shamanism, and so it is divination is a traditional practice of mysticism. So it's practical mysticism. So we decided to call it this name when we met in New York a couple of years ago to talk about the decision to do this together.
And how did
it happen?
Yes. How did it happen?
How the heck did that happen? Okay, so here's the interesting story. So I'm doing 2 decks a year at Hay House, and it is I made a decision a few years ago, and I do a lot of things very well, not things like cooking and normal things like opening mail, but more like talking to dead people and
the important stuff.
Yeah, the odd woo-woo stuff. But I made a decision a couple of years ago, that 2 or 3 years ago, that my great love, I asked myself some questions, if I had to pick one thing that I do that I love most. I was working with a coach, and I was like, it is oracle cards. It's divination. It's what I've done for 40 years, and I've taught it and done it for a living for 30. So as much as I love mediumship, and I've done a television show now, it's on Amazon Prime and YouTube called Messages from Spirit. I'm not interested in pursuing that avenue anymore in terms of a career move, if you will. It's a service that I do now for charity, in my charity events, and I raise money for animal charities. But divination, when I look back on it, was the first thing that my father taught me too. He read Turkish coffee cups. This was always like the scandal in the house, but also the curiosity. Even my nanny, my Scottish nanny, when I was, a little kid, read playing cards, and she was kind of like a blue-haired, or actually mauve-haired psychic. So anyway. So I've done quite a few decks. I really wanted to do a shamanic deck because I have studied shamanism a number of years ago, but I didn't feel that I could with integrity own the space, if you will, or really speak to it in a way that felt like it came from something, or that was really deep and rich. I was more of a tourist in shamanism, if you will. Like I'm always going to be a shaman in training kind of thing. And so I followed Alberto for years. And of course, coming to Hay House in 2005, 13 years ago, I got a chance to make friends with some of the people I followed, like when I was younger. And he and I have been friends. And I didn't know he wanted to do a deck. So when him and his wife and I were having tea at the Omega Center in New York, they said, we really love your decks. I said, well, I'd love to do a shaman deck one day. And they're like, well, we want to do one. And so Alberto apparently he'd wanted to do one since 1987 and had actually written a really thick tome, huge, of what he kind of saw as an oracle back then. So what we did was we got together. Alberto and I got together in person, actually, in New York. It took a year for us to get together. What they didn't know was the actual how to architecturally build a deck so that the deck will both be architecturally sound. I guess that's the best way to explain it. And that the language has the correct architecture in it. In other words, there's the right amount of words to put sentences together, right? If you would look at it like that. So it forms what's called
for the guide, or what does that mean?
No, when I say words, ideas and themes. Yeah. So for example, there are 64 cards in this deck. Now, both Alberto and I are experts in the I Ching, so we liked the number 64, and we felt that was calling to us. So we felt that it would be complete. So in other words, you have to have so many themes to complete a language. So oracular consciousness expresses itself in a metaphoric language, or in other words, the way that we tune into the universe when we work with these cards, there has to be the right number of. Right, you get that, right? Okay, so I'm giving away all my secrets.
But that's okay, because people are listening and going, "You got that, Michael," and they're going, "No, Colette, please tell us more."
Tell us more, yeah, okay.
So tell us more about that number.
Yeah, so 64, the number. So here's the difference. Like, not all oracles are created equal. So you're going to find some oracle decks that you buy don't speak, because they don't all speak together. It's like the author created beautiful cards with beautiful sayings on it, but they don't make sense when you put them together. Like the tarot, which is a rigid system, or a fixed system, if you will. We'll always have 78 cards. We'll always have exactly the same cards. We'll always have the same themes of all those cards. And you will always know how to read a tarot deck, no matter who makes it. Like, any author can create a tarot deck and switch out the art. Simple. And maybe, change the meanings a little bit. That's what's called a fixed system. Same with runes. Runes are a fixed system. Okay, I Ching is a fixed system. But oracles come from, they're initiated in the goddess culture, and they were fluid systems. So you could have all kinds of different ones that are very personal. And that's what you're seeing on the marketplace today, are these different ones. And that's my expertise, is being able to create these different ones.
So to pause in the discussion of how these came about, two things. You said you were making a goddess deck, and B, you mentioned a goddess culture. And I must admit to my goddess naivete.
So if you look at Neolithic, Paleolithic, more feminine-based cultures where there were no weapons, that's really kind of the difference between cultures. There were no weapons. They were agriculturally based cultures. Prior to that, tribal cultures. The only weapon that was used was to hunt, but the advent of language, of art, metallurgy, all these things came from a culture that worshipped the feminine or deified version of the conscious universe, right? So there was this, but they've existed for a long time. Patriarchy came with things like the advent of monotheism, etc. You don't get me started. You really don't want me to talk about this for a long time. So how about this? The culture of the goddess predates the culture of patriarchy.
And it's coming back around?
It is starting to be necessary, but you have to evolve beyond. You can't go backwards. You have to take the best of and evolve it forward. And that's what I am committed to doing, is to bring the information forward, say, these are the facts. Yep. This is where we are. And rather than call this bad, let's bring what we can from the system that worked in a different way, because we can't annihilate all weapons right now. That's not possible. We live in a patriarchal system that doesn't work for the sustaining of the planet. Right? So the reason I did a shamanic deck, and why I'm doing a goddess deck and a crystal deck and a spirit animal deck that's coming out in October, is that the earth wisdom is also feminine goddess. That's where it originated. Doesn't mean men bad, women good. It means that it's a different system of consciousness. It's a connection consciousness. It's a collaborative consciousness, how nature works. And it's whereas the patriarchal culture and hard science, etc., look at things in a disconnected view, right? So now even science is coming around again to like post-materialist science, which is now becoming more and more acceptable, gives us a worldview of connectivity, which you talk about all the time on your show, because I listen to your show, right? So I want to make sure that we know that I'm not talking about having a new religion and that we get rid of Father God, because lots of people are happy with Daddy, right? Like it's not about that. It's about the fact that we have been unable to express this. We have been look at the Inquisition. It's like you were not allowed. Even in the Old Testament, that whole thing about the golden calf, that represented the goddess culture. So history tells us the truth where we are now, which is why so many people are starting to look at oracle cards and use them and are fascinated by them. Because there is a return within us. It's not a return because we're being sold something. We feel the desire and need to have a direct dialogue with the divine. And the oracle cards of all shapes and sizes enable that dialogue. Now, the difference between, oracle cards that are not systemized and work as a system, like, for example, my postcards from Spirit, they are a card a day. You get the message for a day. Gabby Bernstein's cards are like that. They're best-selling card deck. The universe has your back. You pick one of the cards, but you can't do a reading. They're not divination. It's not a divination system. Like same with Louise Hay's. These are best-selling decks that people love because they make us think about something important and meaningful. So they bring meaning to our lives, and they can like trigger something. A divination system is what I create, and they are complex. And they work as a conversation tool. They're like this multifaceted machine. They're a mirror. They will show you the truth about everything. They're a flashlight. They're gonna illuminate what your path in front of you. They're a communication device. You can pick up the phone and call the universe and talk to it. It's interactive. And they're a navigational system. They're like a GPS, like what's my next right action? If my intention to be in alignment with my highest good sends me here, what do I need to do? What do I need to know? And things like that. And that's what I've designed. And this particular deck was designed with this in mind, but using specific symbols. So each deck would be different with the symbols. And this has universal shamanic symbols.
Woohoo!
That's a lot of information.
I'm almost scared to ask this next question, but I'm going to go for it just because I've highlighted it in red, so it has to be asked. Tell us about your discussions with Alberto about, quote, how to birth reality from the invisible matrix of creation.
How to birth reality from the invisible matrix of creation is something I talk about all the time, which is co-creation. So if you look at, this is stuff I talk about. He and I have never had this type of discussion. We've talked about it in general, but I can talk about this till the cows come home. He talks about it in his books. So if you look at consciousness as being immanent and the underlying fundamental of existence, consciousness with a capital C, not our little measly consciousness, like not our like Colette I am, but this awake and aware, alive universe, right? That there's an awakeness to this. When we become aware and when we make a conscious effort to be aware, so in other words, we choose awareness, and we approach an oracle, for example, and the oracle operates on synchronicity, which is it is an intentional calling in of meaningful coincidence. And we don't know how it works. We just call it that. Carl Jung called it that. Are you going to be okay, baby? Now, no more barking. Carl Jung coined that term. Oh, you better not do that. Sorry about this. This is like one of those, I'm having my own Mercury retrograde day. That's all it is. Okay. Okay. So back to the more
you realize this just makes it more entertaining. It's more fun this way.
So, because I just hope it is, because it'll never be dry with me. Okay. So you have the nature of reality, which is connection, right? So let's just go there. Connectivity, a connected universe. We're entangled. We're connected. Everything. When we are unaware of our choices, we are typically operating on the past, and we're repeating things because we are memory-based creatures. All the information that we know about reality is stored in our subconscious, and then we tend to react or act on those things that we have expectations about. Then we have, right? So we have a conditional, we look at bias condition, negative bias. We'll go to the worst place first to protect ourselves. But also we're going to go to our conditioning first too. So very little room there to create something new for yourself, right? You're kind of like doomed to the limitations, even though they're okay, of your comfort zone. Even if it's uncomfortable, it's still your comfort zone, right? So birthing reality into existence, connecting to the matrix of creation, if you will, because it is a matrix. It's this big holographic matrix. It's really hard for our little brains to kind of connect to that. But with intention and awareness, we become a partner. Like I call it the partner with the conscious universe. So we co-create our reality. We don't create it ourselves. And we call it into being. And both Alberto and I like to speak or to write very poetically. So that's really a poetic way of saying we have a hand in the reality that we influence by the way we focus our thoughts and intentions and how willing we are to let go our conditioning and heal the past.
Thank you. And on that note, I had to pick up on one thing. We will get to the cards eventually. This is just too good. You said that we and obviously you were saying we don't have to be, but you said doomed to the limitations of your comfort zone.
Yeah. So when I say that, I mean like there's a lot of people that are perfectly happy to stay in the familiar, right? The unknown is scary. And that's what I talked about in my book, Uncharted. I think I was on your show for that.
Yes.
What Oracle, and again, going back to Oracle cards with that, because the conversation and why I started my school, same thing. It's like, how do we navigate this? When we say, okay, I want to step into the unknown. I want something more. I want something different. I want something better. I want to be of greater service. I know there's a spark in me somewhere. But I also know I feel like I'm being shut down and I don't know why because I don't have access to that information, right? So how do I go beyond the limitations that were set in motion for me by the environment that I grew up in, the environment by my thoughts, feelings, and beliefs, how negative or positive I can be, etc. Whatever I reinforce becomes my reality. What I pay attention to becomes my playground. So if we were to look at a way out, then we need tools, right? So we need some kind of tool. And that's what I'm committed to creating these Oracle cards. But just the thought alone about being doomed, we don't get to go beyond where we were unless some big thing happens to us. That, in other words, life hits us with something and we're forced to change. Well, why not? Why wait till you be forced? Why not do it with you be part of the adventure, right? Why wait?
So we can use signs of destiny, so to speak, to be able to step back out of our box, out of our paradigm. Even though we're still in the paradigm, it's as if, I love to say I'm an alchemist. As above, so below. What we create there is what we end up mirroring. And we see just the mirror down here, but the cards help us get to the other side.
The cards are the connection to the other side.
Bingo. The
cards act as the connection. So we open your connection to the universe and anything becomes possible. And how you open your connection to the universe is through many ways, of course, but Oracle cards are one way. This is a way for you to have direct access to the universe. But here's the other thing though, too. It's I think because people are either the denierism is when people are adamantly opposed to learning or to being really adamantly attached to their ignorance, right? And they don't want to learn about something, right? So materialism is one of those ways of denierism, which is the world's all separated parts and there's nothing in between. And this is just hocus pocus, mumbo jumbo. Or, then you have, I said a bad word.
That's all right. I've got the bleep key here. I take a note, it disappears.
Do you bleep it?
We do bleep it. And we had on Dean Radin earlier this week, talking about I love
him.
I called him my hero on air. Absolutely.
He did real magic. Did he swear too? I hope so.
I'm not sure, but we ended the discussion with a beautiful conversation on donuts. It couldn't have gone any better.
That's great.
He actually has
Okay.
a really, really good sense of humor. It's buried a layer or two underneath there,
No,
but
I
it is
love him.
awesome.
Yeah, no soup for you, no magic for you. He said that in his book.
Yes,
I
he
just finished
did.
it. Oh, I love him. I'm going to have him on my show too. Okay. So I just think what's really key about our conversation in general is that everybody now needs to find a way to get a direct dial to a power greater than us that can help us get past being doomed in our limitations of our comfort zone, right? My commitment is to create those tools. And people ask me, like, why do you create so many different ones? Like, why do you have so many different ones coming out? The secret is, now I can't speak for anybody else's, but I am creating a giant lexicon. So all my decks speak to each other, all of them. So it's like somebody who's really serious about this will take every single one of the decks that I've made in this particular series, and all of them are going to speak. So you can mush them all together and they tell a whole story together. Like they're not separated parts. We don't need to do that, but I've just been fascinated. That's what I've found and discovered. It's telling me what it is. It's not even me telling. I don't tell it, by the way, either. That was the other thing. Oracles are a very odd, weird thing. They have their own consciousness. When they lock, it's like they click into place. That's when I say you have so many. It's not the number, the numerology sequence of numbers. It's the number of themes and images and metaphors that you need in order to lock into place to create a lexicon, which is the fundaments of a language, right? Where your psyche is going to go, oh, I get what that is. Like somewhere, these little tips of icebergs, like these little tiny diamonds sparkling at the tip of icebergs, open up the whole iceberg for you when you put them together. And it is what happens. And I studied this for 30 years. It's like, I've been like fascinated with how the heck does this work? And so it took me years. It took me about 22 years to create a system that actually worked and spoke all the time. And it's funny because I know that there's so many Oracle card decks on the market now. And I don't know, it's like, I can't, like, again, everybody's different. They could be channeling like I am too. I have no idea who anybody's doing what because I focus on my own, but I don't care whose you get. Just find one that speaks to you because that's the one that's going to help you cross that bridge from the seen world to the unseen, from the comfort zone into the unknown where your magic is.
Woohoo! So, speaking of speaking to you, I think it was about a week ago. We've been planning a move to or thereabouts Aspen, Colorado for 6-8 months. My wife's gotten her butt kicked with the humidity on the East Coast. We need to wring her out, get her dry again. And we met many years ago in Colorado. We flew her out once to Colorado. She didn't find a place, but felt it was home. We flew her out. We booked a moving truck, planned our move, had our date set, and flew her out this past week to find a place. She's not finding a place. She's really struggling.
Why is it Aspen and why is it not Boulder?
Because we met in Boulder. Boulder's where we've been in the cycle. I was in the Shambhala Meditation Center, eyes closed. I'd been there about a month. I knew I was going to be meeting her there. I'd never seen her.
Funny, I'm saying like Boulder came into my head.
Yep. That is our Boulder imprint. And it may have been that I called her or knew that she had just left a mystical Christian center and was on her way to Boulder at the same time I started visiting Shambhala Center, knowing that I'd be meeting somebody special there. And a month in, I opened up my eyes at the end of a meditation, and there she was. And I knew, so I didn't say anything because I was scared out of my mind. But
you're so adorable, you two. I love you and your wife.
So, all right, but anyway, so we felt Colorado, we felt Aspen area, that's the key, not head. Head is saying, this is ridiculous, this is insane, this is crazy. We get her out there the second time. It's not happening in Aspen itself. I said, expand the search, let go of of what we feel. In fact, the next morning in automatic writing, which is now our first program that we teach, I heard Aspen is the marker, not the destination.
Right. And it's the marker of form. So it's essence rather than form, which is what I teach, right? So
perfect. Yes. So she finds two places that day. One's probably rented, another one's not quite right. The next day she calls me, and apparently she's at the one that hasn't been rented, that was supposed to have been rented. And it seems right on so many levels, but it also seems a little bit crazy on several levels. And we've got the classic tug of war, head over heart going on.
Mhm.
And I'm down in the living room by the couch or something, and all of a sudden I hear chick, 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 chick. And I look down, and there's your box your box of oracle cards in the larger box, as if there was a half deck full of cards shaking.
Oh,
And I pick
wow.
the thing up and shake it, and it makes no noise. And I'm looking at it, and I'm going, "You've got to be kidding me!"
It
It
has a spirit in it.
spoke to us.
We believe that there is one. There's a presiding spirit in every one of my oracle decks. It's bizarre.
And so I pulled the card, and then I read it to Jessica, and it was the Jaguar.
Right. Well, I'm going to pull a card.
Please do.
I'm going to pull a card, and I have my theories on this. So completion is what I got, and the upright position.
And I got that just a few minutes ago as well.
Okay, so this is like full circle. And is it that it's too expensive? Is that the crazy part, that it's like over your price range, or it's like...
It is higher than we ever planned before we decided Aspen, which is part A. So we had the expense piece in it. And then the second part in it is we did all these tests on the internet. We're sure it's going to work, but it appeared marginal for a while. And so we had to get comfortable with that. So there's a lot of getting comfortables with this situation.
What's the testing on the internet meaning? Testing what?
It's satellite. We found an amazing, amazing place. It called to us up in the hills just outside of town. And,
okay, but
yep, go for it.
And that place isn't available. Is that correct?
Well, it wasn't supposed to be. It is. We've rented it. We moved there in 3 days.
Because this is completion. This is exactly where you're supposed to be. So I have to say something about that, because the Jaguar, one of the things about the Jaguar is as you know, it's a cat. So the cat is it's independent. If you remember, we talked about memory, that we're a memory-based creature, but the Jaguar is independent of memory as well. So it says we are moving stealthily. I know that you have jungle background just for today's conversation, but it moves stealthily forward. I'm going to get I'm actually going to get my own guidebook here, because people say, oh, I'm learning your deck, so you don't have to use your guidebook. I said, why would you not use the guidebook? I even read my own guidebook over and over again in case one word jumps out at me. That's the whole point. Why do we do it if you don't want to use it? So, but there's one word in there, one line I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know is key here.
And there's a line that stuck out to us as well.
Explore the walls, beyond the walls that confine you, to go outside your normal routine. Remember, to push your limits and boundaries. Right? She's delivering an invitation from your own future. She's not limited by your past. So this is this toss caution to the wind. Go for it. So that
literally said, toss all. I'm reading this to Jessica, and it says, toss all caution to the wind.
And go for it. One of the best parts about this deck is that, I like billboards. I don't like any subtle hints. I want to know exactly too. When you need to really know something, you're going to be told to really something. Right? So I'm really happy. But the completion thing is moving into another cycle of prosperity. So just again, using these cards, and this is such a beautiful card when you think about it. Look how gorgeous that is.
Well, I mean, that's another question.
I use the same artist. Every single one of my decks is the same artist, by the way. So Jenna de la Grataglia, she is so extraordinarily talented, and we choose different themes for different decks. She's so multi-talented. So this particular deck, I think it's her best art. Anyway, so for you, you know how that's the Ouroboros that eats its tail, right? So it's a continuum of everything that you've done and that you're going to bring forward now that's going to bring you tangibility. Right. So, and because I got the Earth card, remember you said, oh, I'd love you to pull a card. And I actually took out the Earth, and Earth or Gaia. So it's tangibility. It's things you can touch, things that you can grow. What I know about you in terms of your commitment to your listeners is that you only bring content and interesting people that you think are going to help people and inspire them. That's why you're called Inspired Nation. You're this hilarious person that goes, woohoo!
Woo! There, yep.
You remind me of that little kitten on the internet that goes, when they're tickling, they go, boof, and they
my
go,
gosh.
you're so cute. Anyway, yeah, so that's what you are, and that's who you are, and this is fantastic for you guys. It's so awesome.
Thank you, thank you. You know, a couple cards keep coming up, and would love it if you could do a full reading for us in a few minutes with the cards. With that said, 2 cards keep coming up for me. 1 card keeps coming up with Jessica. I want to ask about the card specifically, and then Jessica wants to know, why do the same cards keep coming up? One is Jaguar for me, and I think she's getting that too. And the second is Earthkeeper.
Oh, the Earth Keeper. Okay, so let me take a look and see if anything jumps out at me in this, because it's about co-creator, right? The Earth Keepers are co-creators. They talk about the story of co-creation. And then you have outgrown your small dream of success and achievement. Come on, it says exactly what I said earlier. You're going to be in a new place of prosperity and are ready to dream big with possibilities beyond your wildest expectations. Take on the mantle of the Earth Keeper. Again, it's bringing things into tangible reality. And I got the Earth card too, about tangibility, things you can touch and taste and share with others, not just ideas that come into form. Form for you could be your courses, or, affiliating with people who, and you spread the wealth around. I don't know what that is for you, but you'll decide that. It's grow the sacred dream, your personal life will flourish. Remember, it's not about me any longer, right? So it's both cards, both the Jaguar and the Earthkeeper are cards, repetitive, remind you to stay out of your past ideas of what you thought life was and step into the unknown. Both of them are telling you the same thing.
And then Jessica keeps getting, on the top of, I think, Jaguar, keeps getting the Gatherer.
And the Gatherer is similar. The Gatherer is about sharing, right? So I don't, the Gatherer card, its focus is to share with others. You don't gather and hoard to yourself. You're going to gather it up so you can share with others. So it sounds to me that this is all pointing to the same story, is about what you're offering, right? You're moving, you're getting a more prosperous place so you can share that and teach others. And when I talk about prosperity, I'm talking about compassionate prosperity. I'm not talking about making money, although that could be part of it. That could definitely be part of it, but it's money that helps others, right? It's the Gatherer is all about passing it on. So it's not about the patriarchal view of hoarding. I get more, you get less. It's about, wow, I have more. Want some? Like, I have more. I can help this person and that person and hire this one and that one. It's a very different mindset.
I like that. And Jessica's been challenging us to go higher with the tips that we give people, higher with the tips still, and higher with the tips still. And I call it the Archimedes syndrome. Give me a long enough lever and I will move the world. The more that we have, the more that we can give, the more that we can share, the more that we can do with that to help others.
I agree 100%. I agree.
So Jessica asks, why do certain cards, is it an energetic imprint? What's going on synchronistically, if that's a word, that when you pull a card, sometimes it comes back and comes back and comes back again?
Still, because it's a theme that's ongoing in your life at that time. You'll notice, excuse me, you'll notice themes of the cards. In my school, I actually teach people how to use cards as a tool to create their reality. So it's different than teaching them how to read cards. It's more about using the cards for a purpose. So the 1 card a day, if you start doing 1 card a day and looking at what do I need to know today about my highest intentions, that's a very simple thing. You can track yourself over time. You can say, oh yeah, I'm still in this. This is interesting. This card keeps coming up over the past 2 weeks. So if, for example, you need to be reminded that you need to go beyond your limitations, you'll get the same card, right? You will get that. And that is synchronicity, the meaningful coincidence of seeing this thing repeating in front of you.
Beautiful. So on that note, I've got to ask, how do we use cards to create, or co-create is probably a better way to put it, our own reality?
Well, you're going to have to sign up to my Oracle school to find that out. Or you can have me on to talk about that in September. So I will tell you. All right. So if you look at, or people typically look at Oracle cards, this is what I teach is very different than, so at Hay House, we're doing an Oracle card reader course that's coming out in the spring, I think, or early part of the year. which is to teach people how to actually read the cards, right? And then to maybe even make a living at that, because lots of people are asking because they're really feeling that I want to put this in my business. What I teach people to do is how to see themselves with clarity and how to break past their limitations. You need a navigation system. And so I teach people how to do that. And I'm not going to tell you all the mechanics of that here because why would I? But I don't know how to explain this, but it's an experiential thing that has to happen in a group. Mm-hmm. It is effective by yourself, but it's like off the Richter scale. Unbelievable when you have a group of people focused on the same thing, on the same subject, and using a very intimate, experience with a navigational tool, and a flashlight, mirror, right? Because the cards are mirrors, a flashlight, a map, a telephone. It's like 5 in 1 kind of a thing. So we will always snap back to our comfort zone, and we are built that way. The subconscious is built to prevent us from going beyond what it knows. It doesn't want to do something so drastically different. Like, why would you do that, right? So we have to kind of short circuit all of that conditioning and find a way how to play with the universe. And there are methods around that, around the psychology of how you approach it. That is what I teach in the school.
Beautiful, beautiful. When I do automatic writing, sometimes I get an answer that doesn't seem on the surface like the answer that I would want or that would be in my best interest, so that it's a marker to twist me around and then kind of bend gravity and pull me over from one place to the next where I'm actually supposed to be. Or if it told me A to B, I'd probably never end up there. That brings us back to oracle cards, because it seems like the same thing. Are oracle cards tricksters?
They can be, but they're not. They're definitely not always. But they're only a trickster if you're going in a direction that you're insisting on. Mm-hmm. Because self-will and patterning are two things that basically screw us up. When we say that we have an intention to create a new reality for ourselves, but we have these mechanisms that are set in motion all the time that will trip us up. They'll invite us back into old patterns of behavior, etc. So so I find that sometimes the cards, especially if you ask the same question too many times, will be like a trick. Like, really, you want to ask that again? Okay, let's go here, right? And so that you want to face something, go see exactly what it is that you're asking, and it will provide you guidance and direction in order for you to experience a lesson where you're going to come back around again to when everything is in alignment for you to actually experience what you want. Because many of us have no patience whatsoever to allow because our job is to know what the essence is our job is to set the intention in motion. The universe's job is the form. It's like how you and Jessica, like, oh wait, that's the marker. That's not the exact place. It's the form is decided by the universe.
How do you define the essence?
The essence is the soul of something, or the sense of the truth of something, like the full embodied, like this, the soul of an experience, experience versus form. Let me describe the essential element of something. So, for example, you want to be happy, but at the same time, you want this job you think will make you happy. But the form is, right, that's a good one. But the form is something else. The real form that's going to make you happy, because you made a decision. This is what happiness means to me. This is how it's going to feel. I'm going to feel it, because you have an expectation of that the intention or desire that you have is going to give you something at the other end of it. When in fact, you're going to have a destination and arrive there. That's the worst way to do it, but that's what everybody does, goals, right? As opposed to, okay, well, the essence of how I want to feel is good and meaningful and helpful, etc. What would that look like? So then you might start somewhere. Well, I think it would look like this. Like, I think it would be Aspen. I think that's where it would be. But the truth is, it's up the road from Aspen. That was the marker. Right? So I call those sacred journey markers. And then if you are smart and if you understand how the universe works, because there are laws for this, you get out of your own way, and you're always surprised and excited. And like, it's like a birthday party every day. It's like, oh, wow, look at that form. It's only when we get too attached. Attachment is the biggest problem that we have to the form we think we want. And that's when the cards can become tricksters, because they'll be like, really? You're going to be so focused on that one thing? Okay, well, I'm going to show you what that's going to feel like. Not what you want, but go ahead.
So can we use then, well, it's a loaded question. Of course we can. How do we use the deck to start developing our intuition, which you've written all about, and to start to get us further out of our heads and diving into that inner wisdom?
I had to put a piece of gum in my mouth because my mouth was getting super dry. So let's just say this.
Yeah.
Intuition is like going to the gym. This is like weights, lifting weights.
All the cards,
so,
yep.
Yeah, just pulling cards every day is like lifting weights. It's like going to the gym. Intuition is not a diet. It has atrophied mostly in our culture because materialism and scientific materialism has been the focus, and the separation between religion and science, all that balderdash. That now, all of that's been separated has caused all of us to have many, many years of repetitive ideas about how the universe works and it is. So intuition has been either laughed at or scoffed at, or it's not really there. Ghost in a machine, yada, yada, yada. What is it really? This sixth sense? Well, I think it's our primary sense, because we are first invisible. We are first invisible consciousness, souls before bodies. Bodies are taken on. We are immortal. And so we really are. And shamanism reminds us of that. It's just that the body is not immortal, but the spirit or the essence of the person, right? Okay. So working with the oracle cards, and if you use it as a method of exercising your intuition, you automatically get more access to it everywhere of the rest of the day. It doesn't just with one card. It's not the card that does it. It's the action of your admission that the invisible is the fundamental universe. It is not the visible. The visible is only 4%. 96% of the universe is invisible. Hello. And that's the intuition can navigate the invisible. Every single one of us has that. I just happen to have a little extra. Who cares? Because I can't do tons of other things, right? But it's just like some of us are born a little strange, right? And we have like kind of an odd access to it. But you don't need to be. I always tell everybody, you don't need to be psychic to work with oracle cards ever. You already are. What this does is help open up the channel. You're made of the universe, of the conscious universe. It's inside you. All you're doing is opening up to what's already in there.
Wow, so you've got me thinking. The more that we use the deck, or any deck, I guess you could say, but the more you use a deck that calls to you, the more that you dive into this, the more you begin lifting the weights, the more clearly you're able to hear what I call K-Heart Radio, all heart all the time.
Yeah, I call it Soul FM.
Perfect. We're on the same wavelength.
Yes and no. So yes, it's how you use the deck, though. Like, I'm very adamant about something called oracle abuse, which is when you're looking to use the deck with an attachment or an agenda to get the answer you're looking for. Even in automatic writing, like one of the things that I teach in my school is about something called dominant energy. So the oracle will speak to whatever dominant energy is going on in your life. It's even if you ask a very specific question, it sounds like it's not talking to that. It may not be, because that's not your dominant energy. It's something else is going on more important that you need to address first before you get to that next thing. But human beings are linear thinkers. So we have a lot wrong with us, just so you know, like a lot that we have to change in order for this, which is really, I think, the excitement and the adventure of being human, is like going, wow, how do I leapfrog over these bizarre methods of self-control and limitation and into this vastness of this playground that I could have. So you have to be careful with the motive of using oracle cards. Your motives are really important.
If your motives are to get the result that you are looking for.
Exact result, form.
Yeah. I know going beyond the cards, the universe has a way of, turning up the volume, and then, at least in my case, pulling out the 2x4s eventually.
Yeah.
Do the oracle cards have a way of helping you to realize that, or is that the challenge? Okay.
Yeah, they do. And they also are, they do many things. They reflect where you are. They trick you into learning something to get to the next thing. Because it's, in other words, like you might say, I want to experience X, but you can't experience X until you have experienced Y. You don't want to experience Y but you don't have the wisdom to have X the way you want it if you don't have Y. So the cards will go, you need Y. You got to go to Y. And you're like, why do I want to do? I don't want to do that. No, that looks awful. So you get hurt, perhaps, maybe. Maybe that's it. Maybe you suffer in Y. But the wisdom that you gain from that enables you to have X. So they have wisdom way beyond you and I. We just want to feel good and feel safe, be certain, and like land in the bucket of our intention. We're very, very simple, primitive little beings. But the universe is much more aware and loving and knowing and, I've learned to surrender, and I'm a tough one because I'm a total Cancerian. I like hang on to everything like a little crab.
How have you learned to let go? And for people listening to this, it's an interesting audience. We've got an audience of people who wants to change and improve their lives and will do everything it takes to change and improve their lives. That is the repair mechanism that draws audience to and has drawn me in the past to learning about self-help, which is the assumption that there's something wrong with me in this moment that gets to be fixed.
Okay. So fix me is rescue me is I'm not accountable or responsible for my choices. Yeah. What I believe is that we are either incoherent, in other words, we're out of alignment, or we're in alignment. We can be wounded and we can believe things about ourselves that are not true, because ultimately we are well-being, we are love, we are all heart. But the false ideas that we need to be fixed, I think is a big underlying issue why people blame themselves a lot in the self-help movement for like, oh, I manifested this, oh, this isn't working, there's something wrong with me, which I would really like to see eradicated. Instead, we should look at, oh, that's interesting. Let's be curious about our path instead of this was bad. Like, oh, what could I learn from that? That's interesting. And that's a way for us to set ourselves free. But we are all accountable. We are accountable. I believe that well-being and, oh my dog, my well-being and coherence is what we need to seek. And it is in a restoration to this coherent way of, when I say coherent, that we're in alignment with this conscious universe, and we can become the artist on behalf of the great artist. We've got the privilege of being here, stewarding the earth, bringing more love, compassion, and care to living beings and sentient beings. Right now we're at a very, very dark part of history. I think that, and yet the standard of living around the world is higher than it ever has before for more people. But there is a tension in the air and a sense of lack of safety, if you will, for the inequities that are going on. So rather than say this is bad, I need to fix it, or this is bad and we need to get it good, I believe that we need to love all the parts of it, and not to love like, oh, I love violence. No, it's like love ourselves in our fear, and love the part of us that feels inadequate, that we're not good enough activists or any of those things, and really just do what we can and do the best we can every day to stay in alignment with a higher consciousness. And that affects our choices, our behavior, and what we spend our time on. That's our currency is our energy and our time. Woo-hoo! What are we spending?
Which brings up an important piece of energy work. I guess we could call it that. The importance of self-love.
Yeah, that's huge. And not easy for a lot of people when we have a culture that has drilled into everyone that we're not good enough, we're too fat, too old, too this, not enough this, like not enough that, we need to consume this in order to have that. It's like we don't live in a culture that supports self-love, right? It's like we have to come into these new age circles, which I don't even know that it's that new agey anymore. It's just like, I would say personal development is what I believe this is, and finding ways and learning from indigenous cultures and earth medicines and wisdom keepers that have existed prior to us. We have to go find out, well, what did they do? What did they do? What could we learn from the ancients? What could we learn from our modern world? What could we blend together to help us evolve? I don't have all those answers. I'm searching too.
You had a very cool tool in one of your recent blogs. I'm wondering if you could share with us called the 3-minute miracle.
Oh, the 3-minute miracle when you write down your affirmations. Okay, that one.
Yes.
Okay, so there's 2 3-minute miracles. One is okay. So one of them is that you put an egg timer and you set it for 3 minutes and you
That's the
write
one.
down everything that you're grateful for, including the things that you intend to bring into being. And you don't get shy. Like even if you're scared, you want to say, I want to be a Hay House author. I never wanted to be one, but I became one. So, but it's like the things that you have in your head that you really feel like you want to write a book, or you want to climb Mount Everest, you want to, bake cookies for homeless people. I don't know what it is that you want to do. You want to help change the world. Write it down. Thank you for, and like write it down as if it were real, as if it has already happened. And you have 3 minutes to do that. It's the most liberating exercise. It's amazing. The other one is a meditation. And it's to put your hand on your heart. This is my favorite meditation. This is my go-to meditation. I like to put both hands on my heart.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just say thank you. I just say thank you. Oh, my dogs are barking thank you. And you just do that. Oh, I'm sorry. Bisou. Coco too. Like they're just, oh well. Anyway, this is like entertaining, weird monster meditations. And all you do is just say thank you. Thank you is the abracadabra for everything. Being grateful. So grateful for everything. Yeah, it's only gratitude. And it's not complicated. Just be thankful, because it works. It just works.
Woohoo! So a few quick wrap-up questions, but
Okay.
since you have both of them there in your arms, you mentioned at the beginning of the show animal charities.
Oh, so I think I told you I have my own TV show now, Messages from Spirit. When I came out of the closet as a medium, it was so bizarre. I've been doing mediumship for years. I just refused to call myself a medium. No, I'm not that. I don't know why. I'm so weird. I hate labels, but anyway, so be it. Then I got this literally, I don't know, a year later, when I finally said, yes, that is part of what I do. Instead of just making it all part of what I do, I just say, yes, that is that, which it is. I decided, I could make these really fun events. And so I have something called Spirit Jam that I do, which is, I do music because I was a recording artist. I sing a little, I tell jokes, I read oracle cards, and I talk to dead people. And every penny that we raise, all the profits go to a local animal charity. So I'm I think I raised $15,000 last year for the Toronto Humane Society.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's me and charities and animals.
Woohoo! So
yeah.
What one homework assignment, if I took off my coaching hat, and I put it on you, what one homework assignment would you give people to help them today?
Yeah, so I would go to my website and play with my oracle cards. They're free. You don't have to buy anything, especially the Mystical Shaman Deck. That's up there. We have an app, and meditate once a day on what do I need to know about my highest good today, and start to get used to recognizing that you have a direct dial to the universe, and the cards can help you mirror what you can't see in your life. And I think that that's what we're all looking for right now, is some kind of a tool. And do that 3-minute heart meditation. I think that that's always, my people expect complicated homework. I'm like, you know what, just be grateful and go pull a card.
Excellent. So on that note, where's your website and where can people go to find out more?
Okay, so it's ColetteBaron-Reid.com, myname.com. And there are 4 decks you can try. The deck I teach in Oracle School is Wisdom of the Oracle. It's the red one. There's a pink one. There's Enchanted Map and Wisdom of the Hidden Realms on there too. For now, and then you can also download a PDF of how to ask the right question every time. So that's free. You just sign in and get it. So it's just really helpful if you're looking for navigating your life a little bit. That will help you.
Awesome, awesome. And on that note, Jessica would want me to ask, I'm not sure if you have a hand available to pull a card for our upcoming journey.
Okay, I will. Hang on a sec. Okay, you guys are going to go down now. All right, no barking for your upcoming journey, or for everybody. So are you specific?
Wow.
Okay.
We're going to have to do 2 cards because I want to get everybody covered. I have to get everybody covered.
Okay, yeah, you can't be selfish. Let's get one for
Not
the group.
on this show.
One for the group. So one for you and Jessica, the Seer. So the Seer is about intuition. It's the part of us that sees beyond the mundane, right? So this is the part of us that knows without knowing, sees without seeing, and recognizes the invisible world as the fundamental one. So it's really saying you're trusting your intuition. It's the capacity to reach beyond the obvious details of life. You're exactly where you're supposed to be, and your vision is clear. So this whole thing you guys are doing right now is clear. You've been trusting your intuition, and it's 100% correct. Now, for everyone else, because we can ask for the whole group, because for people who are listening today, this is a general thing for you to be thinking about. So it's kind of like homework. So I'm going to give everybody say, like, what do we all need to know? All of us here today gathered on Inspired Nation, what do we need to know for our highest good in order to manifest the world that we live in a better, healthier, more heart-based way? And the card is the Holy Mountain, which is about obstacles and moving around them. So no matter what we see in front of us, we have the capacity to move beyond what we consider to be obstacles. And like, for example, oh, I have so much to change. Oh my God, I can't, or whatever, all those things that we say to ourselves that are our limitations. So the Holy Mountain invites you to go on a sacred pilgrimage to acquire vision and perspective. So perspective is, like most of us live with our lives suction cupped onto our faces, like we don't see beyond the end of our nose. So look around, get into that observer, observe the world without being too judgmental about it. Make a commitment to walk with courage, love, and compassion until you see with clarity the perfection of all. So that is about releasing judgment, so that we don't look and say, oh, this is good, this is bad. This is more about, this is what it is. This and that is true. Then we have the power to really choose, because we can't, if we're fighting against something or in denial about something, we can't see clearly. Clarity comes when we are willing to have the perspective that all is as it is.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Really quick wrap-up questions. First off, Colette, what brings you the greatest happiness, or what I call the woohoo factor?
Lately, I just recorded 3 songs with my recording partner of 18 years ago, who was really well known for doing Tori Amos's records. So we just came back from LA, and you can see it. You can listen to it on SoundCloud.
Cool.
If you go Colette Baron-Reid and go to SoundCloud, there's 3 songs on there. What makes me go woohoo is getting back into music and singing again at the young age of 60.
No way.
When I was told I was too old, when I had my record deal, I was 40. Yeah, I was 40 when I got the deal, and it was like the big thing was my age. And now I'm recording the best music of my life, and we're going to put it on CD Baby. And our band is called Not Us, because we believe we're channeling it.
I love it.
That's my band, Not Us. It's not Colette Baron-Reid, but on SoundCloud it is. So you can listen to that.
And it would be hard to look you up if we didn't have a name. Yeah,
Colette Baron-Reid. I'm happy. I don't care about it being a career anymore, but it is really, we were both like, we hadn't seen each other in 18 years. It was like, oh my God, this music is amazing. So let's put it up.
Woohoo!
It's listening music. It's not commercial. It's music to listen to. It's very moody and chilly.
Very cool. So from there, Jessica always wants me to ask, what advice would you give parents today to help their kids, and maybe how we can even use the cards to help our kids?
Well, I think that you have to encourage your kids to see the world with truthful eyes. What would I tell the kids? Gosh, you know what? I don't have kids, so thank God I don't have kids. But what would I tell some kids? To trust that if they have integrity and if they follow their heart, they're the heart and not the crowd, they will land in the right spot. And also to use art in any way they can. Be expressive, find some way to express yourself. And don't ever be afraid to be different and unique. Don't do anything to follow a crowd, ever. Always be yourself. Always be yourself.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And last, and this has been a truly beautiful, albeit entertaining in a Pomeranian kind of way, interview.
Sorry.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I have a feeling we had two dogs, one of which was like a 2/3 coyote mix, which I got in the desert Southwest, or she found me, however we want to call that. And so I had a coyote in my life for 17 years, and I feel like we're
Oh, I love coyote.
attracting coyote back. I have a feeling pumpkin will
Well,
be back in our
coyote,
life.
I love coyotes. We have, but that's why I don't let my dogs out the door, because they're like little groundhogs, and the coyotes can just jump over. I have a 10-foot fence and they still jump over it. But we have they're coy wolves where I live. They're half coyote, half wolf.
Oh, I've
Yeah,
got
they're
goosebumps.
gorgeous creatures. They're very special, very, very special. So I'm respectful of their behavior, but they are to me the most mystical animal. Them and ravens and dragonflies.
Very, very, very cool. And yeah, and there's been lots of experiences with both of those. But coyotes, time with a coyote and time with a wolf, and you realize they know something.
Oh yeah, we think we're so smart.
No.
We are. We are to a degree.
So, any last words of wisdom you want to share with people today?
No, I don't. Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think if I think about last words of wisdom, I think the whole thing was wisdom. I guess because I talk a lot about oracles, because that's why you have me on the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get over it. I think people get this superstition that they're giving their power away to a tool, and I guess the thing that I'm trying to say is that all of us have an innate sense of a relationship to a power greater than ourselves. Why not use something that can help facilitate the conversation? Get away from the superstition that this is fortune telling. None of this is fortune telling. That's the misuse of the cards, is to look into the future too far in advance, because then you're saying, oh, let me predict the future, instead of I'm going to create the future. Use them to help you create the future. And you will see how things will change, and how amazing, like how the invisible world wakes up and starts talking to you just when you start to use an oracle. It's crazy.
Woo-hoo!
That's my wisdom.
I like it. And if you think that it's going to show you what the future is, it's going to show you something which is going to take you down a path, but that's not necessarily the future you're going to end up with. It's just showing you a marker.
Future is not fixed. I apologize, I interrupted you, but that's the thing, that the future is mutable. It is not a fixed place. So there's potentiality only. Remember, that's why my cards are prescriptive rather than predictive.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Thank you so much. This has been a true pleasure and a treat. And as always, I've had to hang on for the trapeze ride, and I love it, Colette.
Oh, thank you. I love being on your show. And by the way, too, when your people come on and they come to my website, they're always the most fun, kind, like sweethearts. They go, I heard you on Inspired Nation. Like, your fan base is awesome. Like, they're interested, they're curious about learning, and I think that says a lot about you, because you're the kindest, most real person in this world of this kind of, if you will, spiritual entertainment. And I respect you and I admire you. You always have intelligent questions, and I'm really supportive of what you're doing in the world.
How's that exercise go? One hand over the other. Gratitude, gratitude received. Oh my God. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And when I found out you were going to be on the show, that was a mighty woohoo! And like I said, I've had, and I realize different decks resonate with different people, but some of them just don't seem to go anywhere with us.
Yeah, and that's okay. I mean, everybody's different. And again, I'm fascinated with how people make their oracle cards and stuff. But like I said, they're the kind that will give you a nice message for the day, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some people need that, and they don't want anything more complicated than that. I make divination systems. It's different.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I just feel called to them.
Did you download the meditation?
No, I haven't. Tell me more.
Okay. Because I recorded a meditation that we're giving to people for free when they buy the deck. So it's beautiful. We used original music. They're very we kind of blended it because it's a universal shamanic deck. It's not specific to any part of the world, although Alberto and Marcela are South American. Actually, he's Cuban, but they live in Chile. So we used like Norse, shamanic Norse sounds, as well as Norse drumming, as well as Native American, North American, plus we used South American instrumentation for it. So you've got this really cool blend of sound in the meditation.
Oh, I've got to check that out. Norse is Norse of I'm not very familiar with them.
Northern
runes, Norse.
Runes, yeah. Runes and the classical tarot, runes and I Ching were how I blended what I really looked to, because those are relatively fixed systems. I looked to them to give me a more fluid structure. So runes are some of I play with them all the time. I use them all the time.
Very, very cool. And I have a very near and dear friend. I call him our Inspiration Wizard, who plays with runes all the time as well. And I've been called, I had Renee Barabue on the show recently talking about listening to the wind.
Girl. Wind.
She's amazing. She's amazing. And that wind whistle is unworldly. But it's got me wanting, and I can't remember the name of it now, the device from the Aboriginal that you spin it around, it goes.
I don't know what it's called either. I know. And then they have the rain sticks and they have I don't know what it's called, but you spin it around, it goes, and it's almost like it sounds a little bit like a didgeridoo, but it isn't.
Yeah. And there's one for sale on Etsy that has runes inscribed on it so that you can put your prayers out to the wind.
Wow. Gee, I gotta find that. Do you have I should go to your website because that's probably there, right? There, the interview you did with Renee?
Yes, that is there. Or it should be back there today. We got hacked on Friday. It's all good, but Jessica came back from her triumphant trip to the Aspen area. We've got a home. Let's move. Wait, I've got some real website work to work on.
That's great. I have to go.
Let me just wrap things up and let's let you get going here.
Okay.
So,
thank you. I love this. Gotta go.
For everyone out there, yes, we could keep talking. For everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, get Mystic Shaman Oracle Deck and Guidebook, and begin opening your channel today and shine bright. Woohoo!
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Colette. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like below. Also, leave your comments. Have some real fun with it. Subscribe to our channel where you're going to get more great videos, more interviews coming up. And check out our website, inspiranationshow.com. That's where you'll find tips, blogs, information, videos you won't find anywhere else, and useful and helpful resources to really help you kickstart your life and to shine bright. Thanks so much again. Thank you for your support. Like, comment, subscribe. See the website. Thanks so much and have fun. Of course, shine bright. Woohoo!